Hearn. She agreed with the tribunal on the balance of probability, etc., etc. Now, that's one thing. Second, this kind of bias in the media affects every bit of reporting, and it affects Bertie Ahern's own approach. Because you probably want to know what I think about the conflict of evidence, the money, the sterling money. I have said this out in hot press, so I'll be saying it again this one independent. I believe that there was a watershed like 1916 in the ethics legislation in 1995 to 2001. It's like, if you went out in 1915 fighting the First World War, it was fine. By 1917, you were a traitor to Ireland to do so. Same thing. Before the ethics legislation, what happened was there were 2 general elections in the 70s. There was 5 in the 80s. TDs were nearly bankrupted. Bertie Ahern, like all people, reacted rashly and began to build up a private war chest. In his life, there's no difference between private and personal. If you give £100 to Fianna Fáil in Dublin Central, it goes to Bertie Ahern.
But when you come to Ahern, as he had said he was doing with Brian Dobson, he told him everything.
Yes, I want to come to why he might have done that. Now, the reason why, probably, given the chaotic accounting systems that they had, that he doesn't come clean and say, and I think that he should, basically face the fact that in the political culture of time, he may as well come clean about it. You couldn't manage, you couldn't modernise your political machine without
was the chaotic accounting system.
Donations. Now, proper donations is not corrupt donations. It's just somebody that wanted to
use it to zero.
Bertie Ahern built up the private war chest. So did many Fianna Gael TDs. But what the media is hypocritical about is saying that money to him, that he trousered money meant for Fianna Fáil, when a pound to Fianna Fáil in this constituency obviously had to go to Bertie Ahern. A pound to Bertie Ahern went to Fianna Fáil because there was no distinction, particularly in Bertie Ahern's life.
It's not like there were any other Fianna Fáil TDs in that constituency you could have done with a few quid to fight elections.
He left the Stormont negotiations. He left his mother's graveside for Stormont negotiations. He has almost no family life. He's always put politics first. So the personal is the political in his life.
They were viewing this through the prism of 2008. It was not the same prism in 1990.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I mean, I do think the mid-90s were a different time. And I do think that, you know, thousands of pounds and money flows in and out in political donations. And I do believe there's a margin there, Senator Harris, where you can, you know, be flexible and not be priggish and not be, you know, jumping on people for pennies and halfpennies. The fact of the matter, though, Pat, is that in 1994, Mr. Ahern received 138,000 punts, which was more than twice his salary. He lodged that amount of money in 1994 when he was Minister for Finance. It's a vast amount of money. But he lodged that amount of money in 1994 when he was Minister for Finance. It's a vast amount of money. But let the tribunal get to the bottom of these matters. I can't preempt the tribunal's findings, and I don't want to. I don't think that's the issue. And I think it's up to Bertie Ahern to go when he wants to go. I don't say he's corrupt. What I do say is that I simply don't believe the evidence he's given under oath in Dublin Castle. Therefore, I agree with Jean Kerrigan and Alan Ruddock and many other journalists that it appears that the Taoiseach is a perjurer. And it also appears, because he's the only member of Dáil Éireann who doesn't have a tax clearance certificate, that he's not kosher with the tax people. Now, everyone else in this country is subject to these laws. And I have a concern. I don't like witch hunting. And I don't like jumping on a man when he's down. And I feel considerable respect for Mr. Ahern. He's delivered peace in this country. He's presided over 3 coalition governments and done it brilliantly. He was an outstanding president when we had the European project, when we had there's a lot of good things to be said about Bertie Ahern. And I would not want to say bad things or slander the man.
So what's he guilty of, so Eamon? What's his crime?
Well, I think his crime appears to be, Owen, that he has not been truthful from the beginning.
And why do you think he might not have been truthful? Isn't it most likely to be in the realm of, in the matter of fundraising to modernise his constituency? You know, Whelan says the most professional organisation are on top of the pole. He may have cut corners, chaotic finances, and there's the question of tax avoidance. Just let me finish this. But if he's tax avoider, he's in very good company. Actually, he's in the company of Judge Alan Mahan, who in 1992 admitted settling with the revenue commissioners for €60,000 and didn't reveal it till 2002-3, when Phoenix were about to publish it. bother you that a man is sitting in judgment on a Hearn who himself was not tax compliant and is wagging righteous fingers at the Taoiseach?
This is all very true. And there's no question about it, that what the whole tribunal culture is a priggish attempt to impose retrospectively a contemporary morality on times that were different, in which politicians went around with their pockets bulging with money to buy drinks for people. It was all their own money, it was parties' money, it didn't matter. That's all absolutely true. This is the difficulty. The difficulty is now in speaking from that culture, from within that culture, to the one which is now rampant in this society. How do you actually explain yourself coming from that culture to the culture which is now literal about everything?
You're dead right, and one of the signs of that with the younger journalists, for example, is the extraordinary double standards applied to Ireland. The money that Eamon talks about, let's say, put it at the Sunday Times figure, that was €200,000 kind of washing through his account, which I must have been to Ireland. The money that Eamon talks about, let's say, put it at the Sunday Times figure, that was €200,000 kind of washing through his account, which I must have been, by the way, salary, because in the previous 7 years, he earned £269,000 and is a very frugal liver and a very heavy saver. But leave that aside. Younger journalists, the younger cub reporters who shout at this, or best Taoiseach in years, on the streets, they'll shout out the kind of slogans behind them. They are so mellow about the fact that Gareth Fitzgerald had bad debts of €200,000, exactly the same figures that Hearn is accused of, written off by his pal Peter Sutherland, the chairman of Irish Banks at the time, back in 1993, and it doesn't bother the media at all, and they don't report it, yet they hound the Hearn day and night about exactly the same sum of money. Is that not a double standard?
But that is in the public domain. This is not.
It's all in the public domain. I'm not saying Gareth Fitzgerald did anything wrong. I'm saying the worst crime that Bertie Hearn might be guilty of is that in building that modern political machine that topped the poll, he cut corners, he kept chaotic accounts, and he might be not tax compliant. But that is not corruption.
But the logic is in train now. You know, the party has started to withdraw its support because it knows he cannot explain himself. It knows he's not capable, not that he doesn't have some kind of morality on his side, but that he cannot speak to this new culture. Therefore, they're withdrawing from it. There's a second reason why they're withdrawing, because he has said himself that he's not going to be around for the next election. Therefore, Fianna Fáil will be loyal to a leader that it needs, that it is going to depend on. It has no reason to be loyal to Bertie Hearn other than loyalty itself. And I don't think that would be strong enough here.
But if Fianna Fáil gives them a Hearn's head, they will come for Cowan. They're already coming for Cowan tonight. This is the new media culture. Sensational, no barriers, going for girlfriends, shouting at old women. They are building circulation, and they are coming for Cowan, and they will come for the next leader, Fianna Fáil. That's why Fianna Fáil should stand up to this media campaign until hell freezes over if necessary, for the sake of Irish democracy.
I'm glad, it's great to hear Owen. He works for the Sunday Independent, by the way, standing up for standards in journalism.
Well, it's a broad church, and it's all the opinions, as you know.
It's great. Of course it's a broad church, Owen. I do think there's another factor, and it's an important factor. It's the political element of it. And Mary Harney and John Gormley felt compelled to speak this week. I think the Fianna Fáil people coming out and saying that they believe the story that Bertie Hearn is telling the tribunal is tarnishing politics, because they're making themselves look stupid. I mean, nobody believes the story he's telling. And however he got himself into this mess, and it is him, Owen, who got himself into this mess. Not the media, him. However he got in...
change of political culture got him into the mess.
Hold on.
But Owen, do you accept that maybe you're not getting
he's in a mess.
The facts from Bertie, because it is impossible for him now to actually tell it as it was?
I believe that he's telling the truth as he sees it, but